While certain Jikookers keep repeating the same old story, Taehyung and Jungkook continue to leave visible signs of a real relationship, one that doesn't need public confirmation to feel authentic and consistent. One Jikooker tries to reduce the relationship between Taehyung and Jungkook to a simple friendship, saying that the boyfriend looks Taekook shares are just normal interactions. However, this interpretation ignores what thousands of people have noticed for years. There's a connection between them that is communicated through the body, not through words. When someone doesn't want to see the obvious, they try to find logical explanations that make them feel more comfortable, but the truth is that what happens between Jungkook and Taehyung can't be explained as if it were something ordinary. It's not just eyes or a pose for the camera. Taehyung's glances toward Jungkook aren't quick, polite glances. They're slow, deep, often with a hidden smile, as if they were having a silent conversation. Jungkook does it too. He watches him intently, often more than necessary, and maintains his gaze even when the other person would have already looked away. This is no coincidence. In addition, there's the way they both seek each other out even when there are many people around. When they look at each other, they seem to forget their surroundings. This way of observing each other isn't something you see between people who only spend time together for work. What happens with these two is a silent display of affection. They don't use words, they don't make public statements, but they are constantly sending each other signals that anyone can notice if they observe closely. When you watch Taehyung and Jungkook, it's impossible to ignore the way their relationship stands out even in a crowd. Even when other members are nearby, even sitting right next to Jungkook, he leans toward Taehyung. The camera may be capturing the entire group, but the two of them create a moment of their own, as if time is stopped for them. It's not about sharing space, but about creating a space between them that no one else can cross. The way they sit together, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, demonstrates a closeness built over time and mutual care. Furthermore, there's a constant habit: they share food, laugh at the same time, and maintain eye contact for longer than necessary. These repeated gestures indicate trust and attention. And it's important to note how these behaviors are constant, no matter the moment. They don't depend on the place or situation. Whether it's an interview, a rehearsal, or during a dinner, there's a clear inclination from Jungkook toward Taehyung and vice versa. One looks for the other without needing to speak, and when they find each other, their body language changes. Another important detail is physical contact. Not all members of the group share these gestures with Jungkook, holding hands, giving him back rubs, or touching his arm to reassure him. Taehyung does it without hesitation, and Jungkook accepts it without moving away or showing discomfort. Rather, he seems to expect this type of interaction. This isn't common or casual. Cameras capture how they look at each other during important events, how their bodies turn to meet, and how they touch when they think no one is watching. All of this speaks to a relationship that goes beyond mere physical presence. Whenever Jungkook is speaking, one detail is repeated relentlessly: Taehyung observes him with complete attention. It's not a distracted or casual glance, it's a deep concentration, as if his eyes were searching for only one person in the entire room. His cheek rests on his hand, his posture is calm, and his expression is composed. This type of behavior isn't repeated with others. In the case of Taehyung and Jungkook, there's a silent clarity that connects them without them needing to speak. When we analyze these scenes, it's clear this isn't a coincidence. Taehyung not only listens, he follows him with his eyes, even when other topics are happening around him. Jungkook, for his part, returns that attention with equally clear actions. Even when he's conversing or sharing with others, his eyes search for Taehyung. In several recordings, every time he says something, his head turns slightly toward him, seeking his reaction, his smile, or his approval. In the midst of this, there are always those who try to deny the closeness between them. Some posts by Jungkookers seek to obscure or erase this very clear type of interaction. However, the repeated gestures, the exclusive attention, and the constant way they treat each other still speak for themselves. No matter how hard they try to divert attention, Taehyung and Jungkook's actions reinforce what is obvious to those who observe without prejudice. Those who deny this reality do so out of a need to sustain another kind of narrative, but those who have followed Taekook closely understand that there is a continuity, a coherence that isn't built with fan fiction or video editing. The relationship between them exists off-camera. And it's not a theory nor a fantasy. It's a reality that doesn't depend on the approval of others. It's something that is felt, seen, and confirmed with every physical act shared between them. It's also important to mention that when someone is in love or has a real connection, their body language speaks volumes first. Jungkook doesn't have to say anything. When he turns and sees Taehyung, his face changes. The same goes the other way around. Taehyung also has spontaneous reactions to any gesture Jungkook makes. There's no need to listen to statements. Because in relationships like this, the most evident thing is what isn't said, what can't be hidden. The gestures, the hands that touch, the moments they share without distraction, all of this tells a story. At various times, they've been caught acting in ways that can't be faked. A hug that feels real, unhurried and unpretentious. A closeness that isn't dictated by the show's script or the need for attention. What happens between them doesn't seem controlled by an agenda. When one approaches the other, they do so with the confidence of someone who has already been given permission to cross physical boundaries. And when one touches them, the other doesn't move away, they respond, smile, or simply stay. And when someone pays attention, they notice that these interactions don't stop when the event is over. The glances, the touches, the smiles, everything continues parallel to the stage. The cameras don't guide them. No one gives them instructions. They just do it because it comes naturally to them. And that's the most important part. If it were fan service, it would have a purpose. But theirs doesn't follow the rules of the show. They don't do this for the audience. They do it because they want to. Beyond what's seen in public, there are moments recorded behind the scenes that confirm something many already suspect. Taehyung and Jungkook don't just support each other, they also need each other. In recordings of rehearsals and pre-concert preparations, you can see how one seeks out the other to calm down, to speak softly, and to energize each other. No big words are necessary. A simple touch, a glance, or a slight nod is enough to communicate. It's not something they do with everyone. It's something that happens only between them. This kind of interaction is difficult to fake, especially in tense moments. When it's time to go on stage, energy and nerves are at their highest. Yet there they are, Jungkook seeking Taehyung to calm down, and Taehyung responding with a serene smile or a touch on the shoulder. These gestures aren't visible with any other member so consistently and naturally. They are brief moments, but loaded with meaning, and the video recordings confirm this. It's not a staged act. It's part of their routine, part of their way of being together. When the cameras capture how they approach each other in silence, how they speak almost silently, it's a repeated routine. Taehyung straightens Jungkook's clothes, massages the back of his neck, and watches him intently as he breathes deeply. It's an intimate preparation. They're not seeking attention or putting on a show for the public. In fact, many of these gestures happen in places where there aren't thousands of eyes, which indicates that their way of taking care of themselves doesn't depend on whether they're being watched or not. They do it because it comes naturally to them. Furthermore, it's worth noting that this closeness remains constant over the years. It's not a phase or a temporary coincidence. Taehyung knows this well. No matter the year, the city, or the event, there's always a scene that highlights that bond. It could be a spontaneous hug, a shared laugh, or a silent conversation while everyone else is busy. There is a clear pattern of bonding, of exclusive attention that one places on the other, and that says much more than any statement. One of the most consistent elements in the way Taehyung and Jungkook interact is that their gestures aren't seen just once or limited to public situations. They're present at different times, with different people around, and in many settings. The important thing is that, no matter where they are or with whom, their way of acting toward each other remains firm. The closeness, the contact, and the glances are always there. The most interesting thing is that these gestures don't seem planned or exaggerated. There's no intention to attract attention or create an effect. Touching each other without worrying about what others will think, looking at each other calmly, and speaking quietly without needing to hide has become part of their daily routine. This naturalness sets them apart from other relationships within the group. Neither of them forces the moments they experience. Everything flows smoothly. In some videos before concerts, for example, you can see how they support each other. Jungkook leans closer, puts a hand on Taehyung's shoulder, or vice versa. They massage each other's arms, and reassure each other with gentle words. There's no hesitation or tension. That trust isn't born overnight. It's the result of years of sharing close moments that have become part of their way of being together. The same thing happens in interviews or live broadcasts. Even when cameras are rolling or millions of people are watching, they act the same. They sit close. They touch each other lightly. They share food without making a show of it. Instead of controlling every movement, they allow the bond between them to flow freely. This leads many Taekookers to see these gestures as clear signs of a connection that doesn't need public explanation.